Welcome, PAX people, some people that are interested in what we have to say for some reason. Hello, nice to meet you. So I'm Michelle. I am going to be your moderator for this morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this, whenever PAX has decided to schedule this. And we are going to be talking about cosplay and games and why brands need to take a little bit more notice. So you've heard my introduction. So I'm going to go around the various Zoom call that we are on at the moment, and we're all going to introduce ourselves. So first and foremost, Kitty, I'm going to get you to go first.
Oh, what an absolute honor. Thank you, Michelle, for firstly being a fantabulous moderator. It's greatly appreciated. So my name is Kitty. I'm the Senior PR and Influencer Specialist at Communications. Some of my key clients are Logitech Gaming, Logitech for Creators, which is products like StreamCam, Blue Microphones, and Astro Gaming.
Cool, awesome. Noel, let's throw the baton to you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I don't know how I can follow such an awesome introduction as Kitty's, but my name is Noel Wheatley, also known as Fury 76. I have worked in and around the games industry for many years, formerly at Bethesda, modern Storyteller, and in government agencies that do game preservation. And I also sort of helped start a cult, or helped a cult begin at PAX many years ago.
First church at the Holy Sweet Roll. If you are in it, please tell us.
And yes, and I'm also known as the Holy Sweet Noel.
The Holy Sweet
Noel.
Okay, we're going to keep going. So Emmy, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Howdy, my name is Emmy. I am a content manager for Kanga Esports, but I'm also a cosplayer and Twitch streamer as well. So I've got a few different things going on.
Cool. Cool. And last but not least, Hench and Scrap. We've had them on the panel before, and they're here.
Yes. We are Henchwench and Scrap Shop Props. We are professional cosplayers and prop makers, which apparently is a full-time occupation, and I guess that's what the panel's going to be about today.
All-around maker of things. Some of our clients include Blizzard, Activision, Wizards of the Coast, Bethesda, AMD, a few others that I can't talk about yet.
Yeah, we spend our lives in perpetual NDAs. So
forever under the NDA. Always, forever and always. Either way, we're going to jump right into it because we don't have a lot of time for panels and talking about this. And everyone has spoken to me at length about these things before, and it's a very big conversation. So we're going to jump right in. So first question, and this is for everyone. So how much do you feel cosplay is part of gaming culture at this point in time? So I think that's a good place to start. So like where cosplay kind of sits in the gaming sphere. So would anyone like to volunteer to go first? Or am I going to pick someone?
It's so hard being an extrovert.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Bless you.
All right. My gift.
We all know we can wait because Kitty will go first. It's good.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
I'll start the conversation. I think it's such an important part of gaming culture because it's a way that people can creatively express their love for a game or their passion for a game by recreating characters from it. And it's another way of immersing themselves in the game without actually playing the game, and also, belonging to part of a community as well when you go to conventions and, seeing, especially when you see like a really obscure cosplay and you're like, oh my gosh, like that is chef's kiss.
Do you think that part of that growth also helps, like, marketing those games? You come from a really extensive marketing background. So just those people being in cosplay definitely helps with the marketing part too. And you don't have to pay that extra coin for it either.
Let me tell you, any UGC user-generated content that we see, and of course people give us permission to use, perfection. We absolutely love it.
Okay, cool. Let's get somebody else's opinion on this. Noel, I'm going to chuck it to you, just because you're just below Kitty on my screen.
Weird Brady Bunch thing happening here. I 100% agree with Kitty. Like one of those things, as I've mentioned in the past, cosplays to me sit at the very top of a advocacy scale when it comes to passion for a game, because they're the people who are willing to put their own time, resources, effort, quite literally blood, sweat, and tears sometimes into creating these incredible cosplays and expressing their love and passion for a brand. And from the marketing standpoint as well, like as Kitty said, if people are willing to create that content and then you can show that off to the world, and from my point, from a social media standpoint, being able to share like a cosplay on a global stage to show off, hey, look at this incredible creation this person has done. Like I know when I was working with Bethesda and some of the Fallout and Skyrim communities made some incredible stuff, and sharing that online and getting people to, I don't know, not sure if praise is the right word, but acknowledge and appreciate what they've done and created, both externally and as a brand, is always phenomenal. And it's a huge boost to any brand, because if people have shown up to cosplays and spent all day not being paid to hang around at booths just to be part of that community and have some fun and share those moments. And as a brand, I will say, as a quick note on that, it's always very important as a brand or anybody who works at a game studio to acknowledge and support those people and make sure they are taken care of. Those things can often be heavy, sweaty, and uncomfortable. And if they're going to spend all day wearing that on your booth for free, please take care of them.
I almost teared up at that. I don't know about anyone else.
What did I say? Sorry.
it was just like, so it just resonated with me quite. Look, maybe I'm just weird. Either way, we can move on.
It felt so genuine. I was like,
I have so much love for the cosplay community. Like I spent so many years, like before I worked at Bethesda and things like that, I had the opportunity to work with cosplayers of all levels and all standards. I always admired them for the amount of work and the incredible creations they would build. And when I was at Bethesda, I was very fortunate to be able to, work with recognizing and rewarding all that. Like we had so many big get-togethers at PAX where I literally gave away so much stuff just to say thank you, as acknowledgement from the studio and also on behalf of myself, because I was a fan. And I think that's something that more publishers are doing these days, and definitely if they aren't, they should be doing, because cosplayers are amazing and they really should be rewarded for the work they do. Anyway, sorry, that's my
okay, let's move on before I start tearing up. So Emmy, you actually come from like a bit of a different background than us. You're kind of like half on the, like with Kanga Esports, you're in a content manager, content creator role, and also kind of in the esports sphere, which is a little bit different as well. So I'd love to get your opinion on how much cosplay is part of that community as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I feel like gaming and esports obviously go hand in hand, and cosplay really shines when it's part of the event sort of system, if that makes sense. Esports is not that much different to a convention. It's just that you're, all the gamers are there to compete rather than to watch things, but it's very similar, and I wouldn't classify it as like it's not as separate as you would think, if that makes sense. Sorry, I was trying to think about how to say that.
That's okay. You're allowed to think here.
Yeah, I was to think. But yeah, it's very interesting being on both sides of it, and I think it's really interesting being in like the Kanga upper management as well. They're really open to working with cosplayers and trying new things. And I had a meeting recently where they're like, we want to get more involved with cosplay. Like we feel like this is something that no one's really like tapping into or getting into, and we want to expand our reach like as an org as well. So I think it's just the perfect, without getting too far into it, because I know we're probably going to talk about it later, but cosplayers have a totally different audience to streamers and like esports players and other gaming content creators and things like that. And I just think it's you'd be silly not to.
Okay, and lucky last, Hench and Scrap, do you have like any just general opinions on how you feel cosplay fits within the gaming community? Claire, you also come from like a professional costuming background, so
yeah,
I'd like to know how like it's a little bit different. If you need further clarification on that, I can give that. I'm not sure if that's clear enough.
No, I mean, it's definitely different. My original background was mostly in sort of like film costuming, traditional film costuming, where kind of everything's sort of a bit separate. The community and the like film production crews are all really separate. Whereas with gaming, the fans, there's such a direct route from being a fan to being involved in the games industry that there isn't necessarily present in cinema. I think it's because it's such a new industry. And you get that weird crossover of cosplayers not just engaging in the fan sphere, but also going across and eventually becoming part of the games industry themselves. There's a lot of crossover and feedback between the two. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of cosplay and gaming, it's an incredible part of the community to take. Whereas gaming is quite a consumptive form of media, cosplay is then taking that form of media and going the other way and making it a creative process. And I think that is an incredibly important part of the gaming industry as a whole, as it's reflective of how much of an impact that has on our lives.
Yeah, there's a lot of synergy between like game companies and cosplayers as well. And I think that's just kind of been something that's been increasing more and more, and you see more of it with, companies releasing cosplay packs.
Yes.
Yeah, deliberately so
yeah.
so that cosplayers can use the reference packs to create their own content, which in turn is just a very low cost way of providing exposure for your game. And
we finally have the back of you.
Yes.
It's so good, right? Yeah.
And then no one takes a photo
handwritten
of it.
color references. Oh,
Yeah. Not having to press pause constantly to get the reference images and all that. And then I think there's also some brands that just go, you know what, I want to really mess with the cosplayers as much as possible. There is actually this is just a fun fact. There is actually a animator in Japan, and he purposefully makes all of his characters have pockets, and his reasoning is so cosplayers have actual pockets.
Bless.
On the day.
Fantastic. Oh my god.
I'll have to
so
see if I
much.
can find the name, but I thought it was brilliant. Like, he always made his characters have pockets just so cosplayers had places to put their phones in what they need.
That is mint.
Either way, without getting too much off topic. So okay, so we've got a bunch of different perspectives on this next one. Do you think it has grown or been hindered with the pandemic? And do you think that social media has played a really big part in the growth of cosplay? So, I guess that's two questions. So, how big do you think social media plays into it? And how do you think the COVID pandemic has come into it? Because obviously we did see a massive surge of content creators going to platforms like Twitch. Love to get your opinion on that one, Emmy. So when the pandemic began, we started to see a lot more content creators, but I'm going to stop rambling and let people actually answer the question. So Emmy, I chucked it over to you and then started talking again. So I'll let you.
Of course,
let you start.
You're right. you are all good. So I actually think the pandemic has both excelled and hindered it in different ways. I feel like there's no definitive answer, because I know myself personally, when we first heard the news and everyone still sort of had a positive kind of mindset, it was okay, I'm just gonna jump into some projects and I'm gonna smash it out. And I think as things started snowballing, and then we realized that there was going to be no conventions, and then it kind of extended a bit longer than we thought, and I think the fatigue really set in. So I think at the start of the pandemic, there was I smashed out more costumes in a year than I had ever done before. And I was like, great, this is awesome. Can't wait to go to cons next year with my new costumes. And then that didn't happen. I was, in terms of content creation and people coming on Twitch and things like that, I think I definitely started streaming a little bit more, like I said, in that first year of the pandemic. And then it sort of hit the decline a little bit. And I think a lot of people will resonate with that, as everyone's mental health kind of collectively I don't know what the word is, and I don't want to make it a downer either. There was a squeeze on people's productivity. Let's say that.
It's hard to be it's hard to make a costume without a deadline.
Absolutely. And I think also people are focusing on different things as well. Dare I say, money as well can affect a cosplayer's willingness to put something together and then not attend a convention. It's how am I gonna, you got to weigh up your pros and cons, I think. And I think a lot of cosplayers had that mentality a little bit. So yeah, I think that's kind of what happened, and I'm sure a lot of people would kind of agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think I think that basically sums up my feelings and emotions through the pandemic. It was like at the start, I was like, yeah, okay, maybe this will be like this for a little while. Cons are still going to happen. Cons aren't happening. Oh my God. Okay, cons aren't happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny as well because from Oren and my end, it's almost like the opposite has happened in that things were completely dead quiet at the start of the pandemic as lockdown hit, and as brands sort of like took their time to, I guess, gather and re-strategize themselves. There was nothing. We saw, I think, we had the worst year on record financially for our business since we started in 2020, which is probably the same for a lot of businesses. But 2021 has been our best year on record by like an order of magnitude, because it seems like companies gathered themselves and assessed what they wanted. And we've dived straight headlong into like cosplay and prop making. Video content has been like almost our sole thing that we've done for the past like entire of 2021. And it's interesting how it seems like people have finally over the past few months grasped onto exactly where they see cosplay fitting into the sphere a little bit more, and you're suddenly seeing a lot of competitions are coming out for cosplayers to engage with. A lot of big cosplayers are sort of being engaged by companies to create content remotely, and while you're not seeing a lot of the convention work, you're seeing cosplayers being hired to do things like photo shoots and videography. We have a big slate of doing like making of videos where we show the process of how we make a prop or a costume and showcase the final product in their social as well. So it's taking off. It's not like it's just disappeared. I think
it is evolved and changed forms.
Yeah, I think though that the kind of, I guess, emerging cosplayers, that has been a really difficult one for people finding motivation to do things, I guess, of their own volition. But from an industry point of view, it's definitely the work is there. And I guess anyone that's struggling with it can kind of take the view that things aren't all terrible and there is still a lot happening. So yeah.
I might jump in if that's okay with
Yeah,
you
no,
guys.
I was actually going to pass it to you next because I was like, Kitty has opinions on this.
Yeah.
I'm so athletic. So from a, I guess, marketing and PR influencer standpoint, you know, the Sunday Morning Herald, they reported this time last year that the amount of Australian Twitch streamers who were earning money from Twitch had grown by 350%, which is freaking phenomenal, right? And I think a big part of that comes down to the community who would normally go to conventions to support their favorite cosplayers and now supporting them online. So there's still that amazing support by the community. So while the, I guess, the amount of conventions that have just decreased, the community, I think it's actually increased because it's more accessible for people to watch a Twitch stream than potentially pay money to go to a convention.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's definitely been our experience as well. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, I found myself, like, once again, being a huge fan of cosplay as well, just not just from a professional, but also a personal standpoint, watching people and like getting those insights, especially from, I suppose, people who have a great deal of experience and willing to share that knowledge and that insight with people who are, you know, maybe doing their first cosplay ever and want to know, you know, they might not know how to bond, you know, foam together or how to sculpt stuff or, you know, how to use a hot air gun to, you know, mold stuff into a circle or things like that. Like I've watched a lot of stuff on Twitch, I'm sorry. But the thing I found curious, I'd love to sort of, I think this might be a part of it as well, is with the pandemic, like not being able to access certain materials or shipping problems or even just, I suppose, access to textures, like knowing what stuff actually feels like before you're going to make it out of stuff. I'm sure it's pretty effective for cosplayers as well. But
the supply chain is cooked at the moment, yes.
I have absolutely no doubt. But like, I think it's one of those things where I think there's a lot of people watching it, like Kitty said, in a, you know, supporting thing. And I suppose from a business point of view as well, it is a whole nother way for people to engage with brands and products. I think the other side of it though is relevance of the cosplay. So people who might be focusing on games that are coming out now can do that sort of thing where they're creating stuff that is, you know, like what, you know, Hench and Scrap do, where they create these incredible things that can be used as a marketing tool. But for people who might have a, I suppose, a very niche game they want to cosplay, they might make it now. The games come out this year. Persona is not niche. I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
It's
Michelle.
a little niche. Well, this particular outfit is, so I'm still pointing.
Okay, fair enough. But but yeah, like they might get next year and people go, oh, what's that? And it's like, and they may not get the same level of, I don't know, maybe not respect is the right word, but recognition of like, oh my God, that's this version of that cosplay. It's amazing. I love it. Which I'm worried might be a little bit disheartening for new cosplayers. But yeah, that's my only, I think, one of the negatives from COVID and all that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
We're definitely seeing people, I guess, latch onto trends a lot more than ever before. I mean, that was always a thing, but it's definitely a lot of people are really hard pushing trends.
It's definitely much harder to get that immediate feedback compared to conventions, where in an online platform you don't have that swell of fans that of the same thing that you love.
Yeah, I think
Also,
as well.
That validation.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. The
I so
validation
resonate with that.
from being
Yeah.
in person. That's it's kind of hard to replace.
There's a magic to in-person events and cosplay that is very difficult.
Oh, I miss it. Yeah.
I don't want to like
100%.
dive too much into that. I've like wanted to say that, but
I have strong emotions about that one. Yeah.
strong feelings there.
look,
But we're trying to fill the void with comments, but it's not the same. Like
Yeah.
online comments. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, there is the void of the internet where you get likes and that gives you validation for what you've done for like 2 seconds, and then like in person having somebody come up to you and go, oh my
Yeah, exactly.
god,
Like,
is
yeah.
completely different.
The thousands and thousands of likes will, and subscribers will never make up for that one child that comes up to you at a convention and is like, oh, it's me from Overwatch. Like, yeah, you never get that.
I'm getting
Also-
teary just listening to this.
I will
I'm
say also,
literally getting
on the flip side of that as well, like when you can introduce a cosplayer to someone like a voice actor or someone like that from a game as well. Like I remember when Hench and Scrap, you guys got to meet Tim Willits.
Yeah.
at
Oh my god,
PAX.
yeah, that was insane.
And like the Fallout, getting like some of the guys from the studio to come out for the Elder Scrolls community, and some of the voice actresses from the Fallout series organized a big Fallout catch up at PAX that year, and we had a couple of like those people. They were like in tears and excited and loving, and these are grown adults, and they're just. I don't think people like really give games the respect they deserve as an art form and a medium for people to connect and bond and just be a community together. Sorry, once again,
All good. We're gonna move on to the next question because like literally, so I've got a list of questions in front of me, and we've literally only gotten through the first question.
That sounds like a PAX panel, Michelle.
It does sound like a PAX panel, but like I do all this prep of like 10 questions and 20 sub questions for all of it. I want to get through at least 2. So,
I don't know why you don't just release us into a room.
I'm just mentally picturing Luke at the back of the room just going,
Okay, so so I'm going to skip over a couple of these questions. So for cosplayers that are in the discussion, and brand representatives, you can talk talk if you feel that you have opinions on this topic. So, what do you think are something that brands need to consider when they're hiring cosplayers for their campaigns? Like, for example, one of the things I think of is whenever a brand has approached me, I've always gone, I can't make that in like 2 days. I'm slow. I can't make that in 2 days. So I feel like Henchwench has an opinion on this. So I'm gonna like toss this over to her.
It's this perpetual source of frustration from us. We have had so many brands come to us with dream ideas, and we have to say, I'm really sorry, but we can't do this for you in 2 weeks. We physically cannot produce this. If you were to go to the biggest prop producer in the USA, they would also say, no, I'm sorry, we can't make this for you in 2 weeks. And I think that engaging with cosplayers as a brand, it's something that takes time, but it's also something that you really need to be aware that there are incredibly high lead times. It's not just about someone sitting down at a sewing machine and producing something and wearing it. There are ordering times to take into account. There is 3D modeling time. There is, especially if you as a brand can't provide 3D models, which is a whole other thing. Please provide us your assets. We'll sign anything. it's lead times. Lead times are just the number one thing. Probably
Yeah.
even
Definitely tying back into what Noel said, logistics at the moment are significantly longer.
yes.
And so lead times therein are also longer.
Yeah.
The other factor is every time that, especially with stuff that is brand new, that no one has ever built before, there's no resources. So every product like that is a research and development project. We have these tried and true techniques for developing certain forms and concepts, but there is always going to be something about any individual design or piece that needs to be tested, and things will always go wrong. You're not paying for a mass-produced tried and true thing. You're paying for someone to sit down and do the R&D to figure out how all of this is going to work and go together. And that is a much lengthier process than just making something that's already been done and has resources available to produce it.
Yeah, think of it like hiring an engineering department. You have to figure out how to do the thing before they can do the thing in a lot of cases. And often deceptively simple costumes have huge amounts of engineering behind them. I'm sure that if you ask anyone who sews about seam placement in video game costumes, they'll look at Michelle's face.
To get me started.
They'll have opinions. So yeah,
It
lead
makes no
times
sense.
are the biggest one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Emmy, did you have any thoughts
Yeah.
on like things that brands need to consider when they're
Of
approaching
course.
cosplayers? Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, I think. Oh, that's all right. Well, I think because you guys spoke on like, a company asking how you would create and like an object or a costume. I guess I can talk on like more event work. Like, for example, I have so many stories. But if you want a cosplayer at an event, it's important to realize that, like, how do I put this? I guess it's similar to lead times, right? If you want a particular character, it's going to be hard to find that character, especially if you're just kind of casting a net and seeing what's happening. If you want a particular character, you need to ask in advance for us to make that, and you need to expect to, have the funds to make that. Like if you were going to hire an actor and then hire a costume from a costume store, like you're already looking at like maybe $500 plus for like, one person to be in an event for like maybe not even a whole day, maybe half a day. And I think they think because it's an all-in-one package deal that it's going to be a bit cheaper than that. And it's like, not really, I guess. So that's probably my main thing, is to kind of put it into perspective as if you were hiring different people for different jobs. That's probably my main thing on that. But yeah, and give them water and snacks.
I'd like to jump in there for a moment as well.
Yeah,
And
sure.
that is an important thing that you're saying about how, as cosplayers, especially in event work, we do take on sort of multiple roles that would normally be covered by many industries. But there is a value there in that you're getting someone who knows the game in and out. Like they have such an incredible passion.
Yeah, and the way a spokesmodel doesn't.
Yeah, an actor doesn't
Absolutely.
know every facet of your game and have that intense love and passion like a cosplayer is going to. And there is value in that, in the fact that we are so multidisciplinary. We are the entire fabrication department. We are the entire acting department. But we also come with that love for that title and that deep
Absolutely.
knowledge that other, you're not going to get elsewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can't buy that stuff. Well, I mean, you can buy it with a cosplayer, but that love. But
It's hard to get in one person, to get
Yeah.
all
Right.
those skills in one person. And you can go and you can hire an actor and hire a costume or something, but I don't think it's going to come to that same level as a cosplayer. Like a cosplayer,
not even
you're going to
close,
get
yeah.
other cosplayers coming up to them and going, how did you make that? And they can actually tell you how they made it. Or, oh, I like this game too. It's like this almost inherent thing. Cosplayers will almost always cosplay something they're passionate about. So it's already that immediate connection that they have with a cosplayer. It's like, they like that fandom too, or something. It's like this thing in the back of your head. You go up to somebody and it's like, you're dressed as that thing I like, so you must like it too. And I don't think you can get that from like just a general staff member on a stand. Well, like, I mean, if they wear a shirt with it on it, maybe, but cosplay also has this approachability factor to it. It's like a really common thing to go up and ask a cosplayer for a photo. It's kind of weird if you go up to a guy with like a shirt of like and go, let's get a photo of just your shirt. Like it's been, that was a weird way.
Yeah, cosplay in person is it's immersion is really important in video games. Immersion is, I think, one of the biggest selling points of video games, and cosplay just kind of enhances that. When you have something from a video game in real life, it just kind of like just intensifies the immersion just that little bit extra. Yeah.
Cool. So Noel and Kitty, you're free to jump into this question, even though it was directed to the cosplayers in this.
I would love to throw something in on that. Oh, sorry, Kitty, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're talking about like having the power of having cosplayers at a booth at a convention. Like cosplayers, when they're working on a booth or a stand, act as almost like a beacon and a source of advocacy for that game or that product or that brand. So it is like saying before, and I really hope that when we worked in the past that you guys were taken care of when you did stuff for Bethesda. I really hope I did my best for you guys. But it's important to make sure they're taken care of, they get regular breaks, that you also give them the knowledge as well. So they might have an incredible level of fandom for the game, but if it's a brand new game or a brand new product, that as a brand, you support them by giving them that knowledge. You have to treat them as an extension of your own brand, an extension of your business, to make sure that they are advocating for you, are able to talk with authority on your product and brand and everything like that. And you don't want them to be standing at a booth and suddenly, you know, they're exhausted, dehydration, heat stroke or whatever, and they fall over, they hurt themselves, hurt a community member, anything like that. So it's important to treat them like the incredible like value adding asset that they are. And not to talk to you guys as as a as an object, but it is one of those things where I think sometimes people can forget that you're human and that you need a break, you need a snack, you need to be able to drink, you need to be able to sit down, you need toilet breaks, you need all the things everyone else does. Just because you're this living incredible statue doesn't mean that you're, you don't have the same requirements as every other person there as well. Sorry, Kitty.
No.
Go, Kitty.
In short, if you are a brand listening to this, at the end of the day, you are paying for a service. So please keep that in mind. And that extends just from payments, but it's also travel fees, lunch breaks, all those things you need to take into consideration.
Yeah. And even shipping of stuff as well, because some of the cosplayers and items like props can be huge and super expensive to ship. And if you're paying a cosplayer X amount of dollars and not covering the shipping costs for a costume to come from, say, I don't know, South Australia to Melbourne or Sydney or somewhere like that, it could cost them their entire fees just to ship one cosplay. So that's definitely something that I think even for cosplayers to be aware of as well, that when you're negotiating those fees, make sure shipping is part of that if you're traveling interstate especially.
I have one point to add to this is cosplayers are all like, especially in Australia, we're pretty tight knit. If you've mistreated a cosplayer, like as part of the brand exercise, or if cosplayers are happy or unhappy, we all learn about it. We all know.
Yeah, we talk.
Like we all talk.
And we will put companies on blast if they don't treat us well.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like we all talk. We're all pretty good mates. And we will know when you don't treat somebody right. So just keep that in mind. We know, and we can tell when like a cosplayer is not being taken care of on a stand as well. Like I've done my fair share of giving cosplayers water bottles when they've needed it because it hasn't been provided. On to the last question, and this is very much directed towards Kitty and Noel, but I'm sure everyone will have opinions on this. Is what do cosplayers need to consider when you're hiring for campaigns? So like, for example, what do you look for? What makes cosplayers different from other content creators? Stuff like that. So Kitty, you're the extrovert, so I'm going to chuck it to you.
Where's the lie? So I'm going to try and break this down. This is going to be a bit businessy, so I do apologize. But if you are a cosplayer, or if you are thinking about working with brands, please take these notes down or just hit me up in my Twitter DMs and I can give you more information. But essentially, your biggest tool, apart from your content creation, is knowing your insights of your audiences, like inside out. It's so important because depending on the brand, they might be looking for a number of different things. They might be wanting to hit a certain age bracket of an audience. They might be wanting to hit a certain location of where your followers are from. They also might be looking at things like not just your followers, but also what's your engagement rate of your posts and say your Instagram reels or your Instagram stills or your TikToks. So these are all things you really need to take into consideration. But also, we also look at things like, where are you located? Is it going to be, is it in our budget to pay for your fees to even get to a convention? There's lots of things to take into consideration, but please, please, please know your insights because it is such valuable information.
Cool.
Definitely agree
Noel,
with
I'm sure you have have opinions too.
I do have opinions, and I agree with everything that Kitty just said there. The one thing I would potentially like the location factor, yes, can be an issue sometimes, especially when budgets are smaller. But there are ways around that as well. So you can obviously, especially in the modern era where a lot of things are done through streaming until physical events become a thing as well, the location is less of a factor. But when it becomes, like, and this is my personal views on this thing, once again, it's a bit of a different factor when cons become back to it. The other thing I would add to that too is your social presence. So how you are and how you present online. So brands love to work with people who are talented, have a huge reach, a huge audience. However, if you are on there screaming abuse, being racist, homophobic, transphobic, any of those wonderful things, then, brands won't touch you with a 10-foot pole. And it's not a matter of, trying to hide that stuff because once again, it's on the internet, people will find it. And it's not a matter of, if you have, let's call it spicy content. Some brands don't like that. Some brands are okay with it. Depends on how open-minded they are and what their, views are on the alignment of the brand. But it is social presence, quality of work, insights, as Kitty said. If you can, if someone reaches out to you as well, respond. Oh, and for the love of God, make yourself easy to contact, please.
100%.
Have your email or DMs or something open because brands will spend a lot of time trying to contact you if you're talented and great. But there is a certain point they'll get to where it's just like, I've spent
Not worth it.
half an hour on this. They're great. I love to work with them, but I just can't contact them. So yeah, please make yourself contactable in some way, shape or form. I know it can be a struggle sometimes, especially for some cosplayers who may have people out there who are less than kind or a bit creepy and things like that, which I know happens because I've unfortunately witnessed it at cons. But yeah, contactable, insights, social presence, things like that are hugely important. Also the quality of your work. There's nothing wrong with buying cosplay, but if you're representing as your own work, don't lie about stuff like that because brands will find out to say, hey, I need you to create this cool thing. And suddenly you can't deliver. Oh, and the last point, be transparent. If you're, for example, having issues with getting materials, there's been delays, weather delays, for example, shipping issues, things like that. Please be transparent with brands. They don't want to wait till the day before and have you say, oh, sorry, I'm still haven't finished yet. Those are the big things for me personally.
I think communication is so important. I think it can definitely turn a brand off working with you as well. If you're running late on something, an email isn't that difficult to send them and go, hey, it's running late because of X, Y, Z.
Most of the time, they can re-strategize around it too.
Yep.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Too. It's one of those things where it might, if it's a key beat that's coming up that, you have to hit it. I know from experience, and Kitty, you might be the same, we will be building a bit of a buffer there as well. So it's I need it by date X. The real date's here, but this is a buffer for, the just in case things go horribly, horribly wrong thing. And it's not always, it's not the cosplayer's fault, it's not the creator's fault, not people's fault, but sometimes things can come together in the perfect storm and result in delays that, can't be helped.
If something can go wrong, it will go wrong, like shipping things and certain...
Anything technical.
Yeah.
Anything technical at all. You're introducing complications. Yeah.
Yep.
Ask any engineering firm. Yeah. I mean, game developers themselves are familiar with delays. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think definitely all these things are like very important to consider. Like I want to know as well, like, and this is a question for everyone, and probably going to be our last question for the day. Sorry if we could talk about this like for like 3 days straight, I'm sure, but what are some deliverables that people normally get asked for? Like I think now, especially in the age of internet, we're getting a lot more things like high quality photos and video content, and stuff that works well with the algorithm for social media
Mhm.
and stuff these days. I'd love to hear what some deliverables that you either ask for from cosplayers or what you have been requested of.
I'm jumping in straight away for this one because I
I
just
knew you would.
encountered something like this. Something that businesses do or are struggling with, and this will probably be an ongoing battle with different social platforms, is usage rights to popular and trending songs. So when you are creating content and it's a branded piece, the content that you put on your TikTok or your Instagram reel, if it has a popular trending song, 100% you can use it, no problem. But for brands, if they want to use your content, whether it's boosting or on their own platforms, they actually can't use that trending song because they won't be able to boost it. So take into consideration when you are making content. And I know you spend hours pouring into content. I myself try and make TikToks and Instagram reels purely to understand what goes through a content creator's mind. So when I'm asking them to do something, I know it's possible. But just understanding that raw files are so important. So when you're making that content, make content without music, without sound, without text. Brands will thank you for it.
We just finished a job actually, and we adored the brand that did that because they shot us a link to their media library and went, you can use any one of these thousands of songs that we have the rights to. Go nuts, pick a track. And I appreciated that so much as an editor. Yeah.
I was about to say, like, don't be afraid to ask brands for the soundtrack to the games themselves.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I know
definitely.
we had that conversation a while back about doing stuff like that, and it can be painful. It can be hard, especially the game hasn't been released yet.
Yeah.
But to Kitty's point, like when you create that content, you're obviously going to have stuff that has no audio file attached to it. So send that through to the publisher so they can use that. It's a huge freaking help.
Yeah. Bethesda were great with it with the Doom Eternal soundtrack when we did some stuff for that.
did
Yeah,
the
they were
Argent Hammer,
fantastic. Yeah.
Other considerations in terms of deliverables is it's going to be posted to multiple platforms. So you need to take into account portrait format, Instagram, Twitter, all of these have different aspect ratios. So whatever
100%.
you're shooting and preparing to edit, be ready to put in a variety of different formats.
Likewise for brands, tell people up front what formats you need this to go in. A lot of brands don't do TikTok, but if you are going to use TikTok, you need to say that at the outset. I can't count the number of recent campaigns that we've had where at the very end they go, oh, can we get a portrait format version of that video? And I have to say, no, you needed to tell me that at the beginning of the campaign. So yeah.
Emmy, what about you and Twitch? Have you ever had any overlays or any, like, you know, I see your Kanga Esports chair in the background, like sometimes with brand representation, stuff like that. Like that would be a little bit different to some other social platforms. So I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, with Twitch, the way that we work with our sponsors is that our content creators will put their logos on the stream, and we'll also provide them with free product sponsorships and things like that. Like we work with Quantum Energy Drink a lot. We pretty much keep all of our content creators supplied with endless energy and that sort of thing. So it depends on what sort of engagement we're doing, but most of the time it's just a clear post that they're happy with. And we want our content creators to be themselves truly. So we just make sure that there's no like communication issues and like wires being crossed of like, this is what the sponsor wants. Make sure the creator knows that, and then we just kind of go from there and make sure everyone's on the same page, because that's what it comes down to, is just to make sure that the sponsor's getting what they want and the creator's getting what they want, and then everyone's happy.
I just want to jump back in quick. Yep. Most of my time, apart from when I'm working on influencer campaigns, apart from that influencer selection, is spending so many hours writing detailed briefs. And this is checked several times because I don't want anyone to go through all that time making content and then be like, oh, I missed something. Or, oh, we need to add this, because, you know, you got to think of the creator's time as well. So yeah, just know if you are an influencer, or content creator, if a brand hasn't given you a brief, just ask them. Don't waste any time. Say, what do I have to do? Because, you know, I have a certain schedule, I have other commitments, and this is the deadline. This is what I can do. So be upfront, be assertive. You can do it.
Absolutely.
All of this should be in the contract, which on that note, there should be a contract.
Yeah, there should always be a contract. Don't do anything without one.
Correct. Because you want to make sure that you guys get paid and you guys are covered as well. But I will also say from a contractual point of view as well, it also covers the brand because, and I have only come across this a couple of times in my career where people have been a little bit sneaky and trying to double up on brands in a single execution. Yeah. You have to go back and say, sorry, no, we agreed to this and you tried to sneak this product in here. Sorry, not what we agreed to. Redo the whole thing again.
Don't do the thing.
Yes.
Cool. So I think well, that was the last question, but I'd love to get any closing remarks from people about their opinions on brands and cosplay, any last minute advice from maybe aspiring cosplayers that want to be working with brands, stuff like that. We've got like 5 to 10-ish minutes where we can have like a bit more of an open discussion. Yeah, I keep seeing Claire going like this, and I feel like she has something to say.
As a cosplayer, when you are working with a brand, you are providing them with content. Brands are not charities. You're not doing this out of the goodness of your heart. It feels good to be a fan, but you're providing them with something that they are monetizing. Sometimes you can work for low wages, but never spend more money on a project than you are receiving from a brand. That's not on you, that is on them, but you need to hold them accountable to that. I can't count the number of times that cosplayers have come to me and said, it was a really great project, but I ended up losing money on this. It's such a big problem. It's kind of, that's a really big one.
Yeah,
Brands will pay you. You just need to convince them of your value.
I definitely think it's important to note as well is when you work for free, that actually damages the industry a little bit as well. So it's all good and well. Like I occasionally do like, okay, I want to do this work for charity, or like I'm here to help out a friend for this particular thing for this one time because I've already got the content and yes, they can use it or whatever. But when you work for free and when you're doing like a lot of work for free, like when you are building an entire costume and you're making it for free, that's kind of setting a standard for the industry, and that's not a standard that you want to set. Like this is an industry, it is work. You're putting work in, and just because like maybe you're overwhelmed by the brand that has approached you for it because, you know, senpai noticed me, that's not a good enough reason to, you know, turn down, like to not be paid by it. And just make sure that like, even if you like, I'm sure that people in here are happy to talk to you if you don't know what to charge and stuff like that as well. If you're like, this is my first time, like my DMs are open if you ever need help with this, and there's plenty of free resources online as well. But don't price yourself at zero. You're worth more than zero.
You can work for stuff. Absolutely. I've worked for sewing machines and equipment, but there needs to be a transaction of some kind. If they wouldn't work for you for free, don't work for them for free.
Cool.
Just to jump off the back of what Hench said. Sorry, Michelle.
I was actually going to say Emmy kind of tried to jump in before.
No, it's okay. You can go, Kitty. Go.
Just to jump off what Hench said, when you really need to show your value, you can literally do that so concisely in an email. And I really do encourage this.
Yeah.
List your name, have all your links, list your insights, and say, this is what I can value. Like, this is what I can offer to your company. I want to work with you. And it can be as easy as that. But really put a strong case forward so companies cannot say no.
Yeah.
Fabulous. My point was a little bit similar, Kitty. Like when a brand does approach you, you just need to be like, fantastic, so excited. This is exactly what I can do. And what can you offer me? And then when you start talking about budgets, you can say, this is why this costs X amount. This is why this costs X amount. And you can go into, you know, your audience reach and your, you know, your costume construction skills and just whatever it happens to be where your value is. But just do not sell yourself short. And I know it's really, really hard to know your worth. It's like way more difficult than it sounds. But even just send it to someone else, because they will straight up be like, no, you're better than that. $300 to that or whatever it happens to be, you know?
Yeah, get friends to proof your quotes. And on that note, if a company hasn't told you what their budget is, ask their budget. They will always come back to you with, actually, we have this figure, but we can move it around a little bit, or okay, we can give this $2,000, but we can reduce the scope of the brief if you can't make that. There's room for negotiation, and a starting price point is something that gives you a lot to go off.
Yeah, the phrase, what is your budget for this activation, is very useful.
Yeah. And it's new cosplayers have a lot of trouble giving that feedback and approaching brands with that, but you need to know this information to do your job for them well, and they want you to do your job well.
It's okay to say no.
Yeah.
No, I feel like you've wanted to come in for a little bit.
I have, but like I want to be polite. Let everyone else speak first, sort of thing as well. Yeah, I do some very strong feelings about this. Like I do, if a brand has approached you to do work before them, you should definitely be getting paid for it. There is nothing wrong though if you are, a cosplayer who loves something, just doing it because you want to do it. That's completely fine. If you want to go to an event in your cosplay, be very clear. This is not saying you should be paid to go to an event in cosplay if it's doing it as a fan. If a brand approaches you and says, hey, come spend 8 hours on our booth, you should be getting paid. We need you to make something for us. You should be getting paid. If you choose not to get paid, once again, that is absolutely your choice. But I know I've had worked with cosplayers in the past who have said, I want to do this for you. It's like, that's cool. All right. What sort of rate do you want? What sort of fee do you want? Oh, I don't want anything. No. I have to give you something. They have flat out refused to take money. So I've literally bought all their materials, or everything they could possibly need for this, because they refuse to take money. Now, I'm not saying that as a standard thing or what should happen. This person just flat out refused to take any money. That is not how it should be. And very, very clear, I'm not also going to throw anyone in the bus for saying this. But if I was as a brand to approach any cosplayer, it'd be like, cool, great. I want you to work on this project. How much would it cost for you to build, A, B, or C? Because the other thing is too, like you have to realize time, costs, and also experience are a factor in all sort of stuff. So like, I know if I had gone to Hench and Scrap and said, right, I need you guys to make me, the Doom Marine armor, which I know you've already done, but the sort of thing is like, cool, I need you to make the whole armor. That's going to cost X. All right, my budget is here. What can you do for that? All right, I can make you the gun. All right, cool. Let's work on that sort of thing.
We do that all the time. Yeah. I'll be like, we can't do a big molded and cast project, but you have the budget for a foam prop, and we can work with that.
And that's the other thing as well. Be prepared to scale. Like you may not, like your budget might be here and you may definitely be worth that, but their budget might be here. So don't just go, all right, maybe there's a middle ground here we can work on. And I know from personal experience, I love it when a cosplayer or anybody basically comes back with a solution rather than a problem, saying, sorry, I can't do that, out of my budget, later. Going, all right, I can't do that, but what about this? And don't be afraid to pitch an idea back to the brands as well, because sometimes that can be huge. Like you might come out with something that no one's thought of and everyone goes, I didn't think we can do that. That's genius.
Yep. We just finished one of those.
Yeah. I have a piece of really strange advice that people may not take into consideration when a brand approaches them, but make sure that they're the license holder for the property that they're asking you to cosplay. Because like I've had situations where technology companies or like other companies have approached and said like, we want you to cosplay from this franchise, and have asked if they've got permission from the brand to do that, and they've said no. And with certain brands that can incur like a $20,000 fine, and because you're the one that is charging for the service, you can actually be held liable. I have talked to a lawyer, and my copyright legal skills are a little bit hazy, but just be aware of it and be conscious of it, and just, even if it's the questions like, do you have permission from the brand? And if they say yes, then you're all golden. Then the liability is on them. But I know, weird advice, but you'd be surprised how much liability can fall on you, and you don't want to get sued by anyone.
Get insurance too.
Insurance.
Oh, yes.
Get insurance. You need it. Yeah.
Actually, that's something to make sure if you're going to be at a con that you're covered by the brand's
public liability.
Public liability on site stuff as well, because you don't want to be walking around a giant mech outfit and have it fall over and hurt a kid or somebody, and suddenly it's like, well, you were the cosplayer, so it's on you. You don't have insurance. Like, You don't want that on there.
Yeah, you can get insurance. There's some places that do one-off insurance for like $60 for a weekend or something if you're getting your own personal insurance. But most of the time, if you're being hired by a brand, just clarify. And I've got like this huge blog on my website about everything you should ask, and it's annoyed the hell out of every single person that I've been approached for with work. I ask all these questions and I give them a headache, but it's better to be covered by all of that rather than something going wrong.
I have a question for Emmy after.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, Emmy, because I know you are a Twitch content creator yourself and you work with a lot of Twitch streamers. Do you guys, because we actually have this as well in-house, we have a checklist for when we're getting branded content on Twitch streams. So I just wanted to hear your opinion of that and how you manage that when you're working with brands.
Oh, okay. Well, what's your checklist? I'm curious.
Top secret. No, I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm an open book, please. So some of the important things are when streamers are creating content, we check the background, make sure there's nothing that is too adult, pornography, language, colorful language, things that are not appropriate for us to repurpose. Make sure that music isn't being played as well while that content piece is being filmed within the stream. Make sure that the audio is crisp and clear, and that when they're showing off a product or talking about a product, it's being spoken about correctly. So just certain fact sheets that we
of
give
course. Totally. I was just like, what sort of things are you looking for? It's like, of course, that makes sense. We want to make sure that the streams are crisp. It's just really important that like the streamers are seen clearly and being able to, oh my gosh, that's important that we can see you clearly and we can hear you clearly. You don't need the most expensive thing, because we work with some smaller creators and some larger creators as well. It's in terms of like there's no like official checklist, but of course everyone's background checked. Of course everyone's got these beautiful crisp streams and everything, and we have like we have a graphic design team and things like that. So if people need help, if our content creators need support with that, we help with that too. And our content creators, they'll come to us on case-by-case basis if they need support and things like that. So Kanga helps support our creators through that way and things like that. So we've had some creators come to us and say, hey, we want to do this huge brand update, things like that. We'll support them with that. And we can reach out to our sponsorship network and see who wants to get involved and things like that. So it's, that's how I got this chair as well. So it's case by case basically. So we have sometimes the sponsors come to us, sometimes the creators come to us with ideas. Sometimes in the meeting, we have our own ideas and then pull together in that sort of way. So it's, I don't want to say case by case again, because I've said it 4 times, but it's,
that's okay. We don't really discriminate.
Individual. Exactly. I think the difference is with Kanga, we've got myself being a cosplayer, content creator, and we have gamer content creators as well, but we've got some people who are more pro style and some people who are more comedic style, variety streamers and things like that. So we just try and match the best person for the best thing. I guess it's a bit hard to answer the question because it's not a one size fits all situation for us. Yeah.
We are going to have to end it there. Otherwise, we're going to go over the hour and the PAX gods will be mad at us. So thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you have had a wonderful time and maybe have learned something, or otherwise just been entertained by our antics. And hopefully we'll see you again at a live event sometime soon, and so will Dog Meat. Okay, so we're going to sign off and goodbye. Thanks so much again for everyone joining in. Bye!
Bye.
We'll also have socials and stuff somewhere here so you can connect with us outside.
What else do I do? I don't know.